Hi BookTube, my name is Juan, I am just one reader, and today I will be answering the BookTube at the gym tag. But before I get into the actual book tag, I just want to say how happy I am to be making this particular video because this marks hopefully what is the beginning of a new chapter in my life in terms of health and vocal health in particular. So I have sort of talked about this in my channel, but basically for the past 8 to 9 months, I've been having a lot of really bad vocal issues. It started as a very, apparently inconsequential thing. It started like nothing, like not a big deal. I started having some throat problems, some swelling down there in here. I started to see and realize how my singing in particular was getting debilitated severely until it actually started to really deteriorate more and more. My voice became weaker and weaker and weaker. Eventually, not just my singing voice, but my regular speaking voice was affected as well. And I've always suffered from a lot of allergies, so I went with my doctor, my regular ENT, my ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he treated me for allergies for a couple of months, and still nothing happened. The problem in my throat, in my voice, persisted. Then he thought it might be reflux. And when he told me about the reflux, it just kind of made sense to me because I have always been a person who consumes a lot of spicy foods, like a lot of spicy food. And I am Mexican, and even for a Mexican person, I eat a lot of spicy foods. Spices and salsa, and I basically have some kind of spiciness with everything that I eat. So that kind of made sense to me as a diagnosis. But then he gave me treatment for reflux and nothing happened. My stomach was a little bit better, but my vocal problems, which were the heart of the matter, persisted. So everything was very confusing. I was very confused. I was a little depressed because, I am a person who sings every day. I am a person who uses his voice very frequently and very loudly and very playfully. So not being able to explore and exploit your voice, it truly was devastating for me. So many months went by and still nothing. Eventually what happened was that I had some tests done. I had what is called an endoscopy, a panendoscopy. I don't know if that is the term in English, but basically what they do is they get a tube with a camera down into your stomach. So I had anesthesia, I had everything. I had this test done on me, and it turns out I do not have reflux. I do not have anything. My stomach is perfect. My esophagus, everything is perfect. My vocal cords are in pristine condition because, I used to be somewhat of a vocal athlete. So my cords are actually in great shape, except for there was a lot of swelling and irritation and redness surrounding the cords, and it turns out I have a problem of the production of mucus in the nose, and this is very disgusting. I'm sorry, this is gross. And so, we all have a normal amount of mucus that we produce every day in our nose, but I, for some reason, have this condition in which I produce an unusual amount of this mucus. And so the mucus is constantly dripping down through the back of the throat and into the larynx, down into the vocal cords themselves. So of course, that's why my vocal cords were not vibrating properly and why everything was sort of a mess and very irritated down in here. So now that we know that seems to be the problem, the doctor gave me a different medicine with a different dosage, and it looks as if I am finally recovering my voice. I've been able to sing for the past couple of days. I've been able to speak for long stretches of time. Like right now, I've been speaking for 5 minutes, and my voice is not dry, it's not swollen. However, I do need to drink water constantly because I do need to always keep things hydrated and everything. So I am very glad to be finally making a video in which I feel like my voice is free. So maybe by the end of this video, I will be singing a little bit, finally. So anyway, this is the BookTube. I'm sorry for that long introduction. You probably don't even care about that stuff. But you know, health is important. And my problem did not ever appear to be as important as it turned out to be. So you have to go to the doctor. You have to take care of yourself. This is the most important thing we can do. But anyway, BookTube at the gym. You know, I probably don't look it, but I do go to the gym very frequently. I am not like a, muscle guy, narcissist. I'm not a self-centered gym rat narcissist, as many people, most of the people who go to the gym probably are. But I do go to the gym like 4 or 5 days a week, just for health reasons, and because I used to be obese. I used to be very, very fat, and so I understand how important it is to be active and always keeping the body in proper shape. So I do know and understand every term in this book text. So prompt number 1 is the bench press, which I actually rather enjoy. The bench press gives you a chance to show off. So, what is a book that you are proud for having read? So, the book that I am most proud for having read, I read it last year, I think, yeah, and it was 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is the Latin American classic par excellence. It is the quintessential Latin American book that every single Latin person must read, and I was always very intimidated by this, which is a little bit similar to my history with the bench press, because for many years, when I started going to the gym many years ago, I used to be very intimidated when I saw people doing, the bench press, and people were, that were doing it were so buff and so big, and I was very fat, and my arms were like half the size they are now, so, and my chest was non-existent, except I had man boobs. So I never thought I would be able to perform this exercise, but as it turns out, just as with this wonderful book, I became very good with it, with the bench press, and I really enjoyed this one. Prompt number 2 is leg day. Oh, lots of people like to skip leg day. Guilty. What book, genre, author have you skipped because you don't think you can handle it, or you wish you had skipped because it's painful? The author, and more specifically this book, I've always tried to read, but I always feel like I won't be able to pull it off. So this is the book that I am always saving up for, like the summer or a Christmas break, or a period in time in which I will be able to just get immersed in this book completely. So this is Bleak House by Charles Dickens, and this is very complicated because it is ridiculously long. This is like a Bible. It is 900 pages long. And it's supposed to be complicated and complex and, filled with characters and plot lines and legal terms and everything, but everyone really loves it. So maybe, just like with the leg day, I should be doing more of these. Prompt number 3 is crunches. We all know crunches are good for us. Yes. What is a book that you read because you needed to in order to gain a better understanding of literature, of your work, of history, etc.? So I have chosen a book that I read for my work and for my understanding of psychosis. So this is Memoirs of My Nervous Breakdown by Daniel Paul Schreiber. This is nonfiction. It is the real account of this person who lived back in the 19th century, and he had a severe schizophrenic, paranoid schizophrenic meltdown, breakdown, and this is the story of that illness. This book is ridiculously long and repetitive and very dry and sort of very difficult if you don't know the psychological terms. But it is a book that I'm proud of having read, and for having read, and it is a book that has really helped me with the understanding of severe psychopathology. So there you go. Prompt number 4 is the treadmill. I never do treadmill. I don't like that. It's bad for my knees. Instead of the treadmill, I always go elliptical machine. The treadmill is all about endurance. What is a difficult or long book that you powered through? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I remember loving this book, but it was a chore to get through. First of all, it is ridiculously long, like Bleak House level long. It is, yeah, it's just as long as Bleak House, it turns out. Exactly the same length as Bleak House. And it is dense, it is complex, it is beautifully written and sort of riddling. It's like a riddle of language. It's very beautiful and historical. So it was a challenging book, but I am so proud. It was a test of endurance that I passed. I should reread that soon. Question number 5 is Ladrose. This is all about feeling good about yourself. What is a book, an author, or a genre that you read because it makes you feel good or brings you joy? And I have chosen an author who feels, excuse me, Steve Donahue, I know that you don't approve of people drinking or eating while filming videos, but there's only so much I can do. I have chosen an author who has become kind of a genre for me. This is like a niche, a kind of, it's like this author has become, you know, her own genre for me. I don't know. There's something very specific that I get from reading these author, Helene Hanff. So the first book that I read by Helene Hanff was Apple of My Eye. Still my favorite. This is just one of the best books ever. And then I read 84, Charing Cross Road, and finally I read The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street. And I've been talking with Sarah from the channel Hardcover Hearts about reading more of Helene Hanff's work. We're probably going to read Q's Legacy at some point in time. But yeah, there is something very specific about Helene Hanff's writing and her warmth and her wit, the way that she went around in the world through life. And whenever I read one of her books, I just feel like I'm coming home and I feel absolutely warm and joyful inside. And it makes me proud to be human. Question number 6, or rather prompt number 6 is squats. Oh, that heavy weight can get you down. What is a book that you found depressing but you pushed through? I am gonna go with A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James, which is probably one of the worst reading experiences that I've ever had. I am still proud and glad, I guess, that I was able to push through just to be able to say that I read it, and just to be able to prove to myself that I could push through that. But I hated every single word of that book. Anyway, number 7 is the bicep curl. Bicep curls, because you do one and the other, one and the other. I never do one and the other. That's just like very slow. I always do something where I can combine both biceps. Bicep curls are easy to overdo, yes. Name 2 authors that you have read too much of. Well, the first one is, of course, J.K. Rowling, just because I've read her books more than anyone else's. She only has a few books out, basically the Harry Potter series, the Casual Vacancy, and the Cormoran Strike novels, of which I have not read the latest. However, if we just take the Harry Potter books, I have read those 7 books many more times than I should have, probably. Like, I have read those books. The Goblet of Fire I have read over 25 times. So that is an obscene amount of reading. So I have read a lot of J.K. Rowling. And the other one, maybe Stephen King. I haven't read a lot of Stephen King, but I have read maybe like 15 or maybe even 20 of his books. I also have read a lot of Philip Pullman. I think I've read everything that Philip Pullman has written, except for his latest nonfiction book, nonfiction collection, which is Demon Voices. But apart from that, I think I've read everything by him. So maybe those. Question number 8 is tricep dips. The triceps are often ignored. Well, I never do tricep dips. I do tricep exercises, but I don't like doing dips. I think they look ridiculous. Anyway, the triceps are too often ignored. Name 3 authors that you need to read more of. So, Charles Dickens. I have only read Great Expectations, but I don't remember anything, so I need to read that one again, and I need to read more Dickens. I need to read Hemingway because I have never read Ernest Hemingway, which I have always been ashamed of. And the other one, who is the other? Well, there are many authors that I've never read that I feel like a complete waste of a reader for not having read. Maybe a classic, or I have read Jane Austen, so, well, I need to read Wuthering Heights. I know that's not an author, that's a novel, but that's a novel that I've neglected for many years. So there you go. And finally, question number 9 is to tag some people and to share their literary workout routine. So I'm gonna tag Alex from What Page Are You On? I'm gonna tag Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron, and I'm gonna tag Britta from Britta Bowler. I don't know if she's done this, but I'm pretty sure she's been tagged already. And I'm gonna tag Rick from Another Book Vlog, and I'm also gonna tag Sarah from Hardcover Hearts if she hasn't done this yet, and Leo from A Little Book Life. So yeah, that is the BookTube at the gym tag. I am not wearing a tank top because I have always thought that tank tops should not be allowed in this world. I think they are the most vulgar, tackiest things ever. It's even worse than Crocs. Crocs and tank tops. People are crazy. It's like when you see people at the gym who are wearing sunglasses or a hat. What the F, man? You are in a gym, indoors. It's the tackiest thing ever. Anyway, that was the BookTube at the gym tag. Thanks for watching. Lovers are very special people. They're the luckiest people in the world. With one person, one very special person, a feeling deep in your soul says you were half, now you're whole. No more hunger and thirst, but first be a person who needs people. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. With one person, one very special person, a feeling deep in your soul says you were a half, now you're whole. No more hunger and thirst, but first be a person who needs people.